Hi there, I'm David Hunt, owner of GameMasters Guild located in Crestview, Florida, and today I'm going to talk to you about 10 Magic the Gathering counterspells you may not have heard of.
Let's start out with a classic, and that's Counterspell. Straight up counter target spell. Only costs 2 blue mana. This particular one is originally from Tempest. However, Counterspell can be found in a number of different sets. Next we have another 2-cost counterspell, and that's Deprive. Does the same thing, counter target spell. However, you do have to bounce a land you control back to your hand. However, that's not too bad, and nowadays with landfall, that could actually be a bonus. This particular spell came from Rise of the Eldrazi. Next up, from the set Prophecy, we have Foil. Foil is a counterspell that costs 2 blue mana and 2 colorless mana. Kind of pricey for a counterspell. However, its ability is great. You can discard an island and another card from your hand instead of paying its actual mana cost. This is a great card to have in your opening hand if you're playing blue, and this is also not too bad actually anytime mid-game or late game, because a lot of people won't see this card coming. They won't expect it. It's very, very sneaky, which that's what blue's all about. From Urza's Saga, we have another 4-cost counterspell, 2 blue, 2 colorless, and that's Rewind. Now, this takes a little bit of build-up before you can actually use it, but once you cast it, you get to untap up to 4 lands. This is basically a free counterspell. You get 4 lands out, this is a free counterspell. You can't beat that. Coming up, we have another 2-cost counterspell from Ravnica City of Guilds. For 2 blue, you can counter target instant or sorcery spell. So this card's kind of limited because you can't counter planeswalkers or creatures or enchantments, just instants or sorceries. Still, really good card to have. Also has the interesting feature of transmute. For 2 blue and 1 colorless, you can discard a card, search your library for a card with the same converted mana cost as this card, reveal it, and put it into your hand. Now you have to use that as a sorcery, but still, that's not too bad if you're hard-pressed and you need a certain card. This doubles as a limited tutor, so that's not too bad. I do like spells that seem to have multiple uses, and I think this is kind of a neat card if you really got something that's 2-cost that you could transmute into. Next up is Mana Leak. It's a counterspell from M12, which has been printed in a number of different sets. It costs 1 blue and 1 colorless to cast, which is nice if you're playing a multicolored deck. And counter target spell unless its controller plays 3 additional colorless. Not too bad, not too bad. Even though it's not as powerful as regular counterspell, it's still pretty useful because adding another 3 colorless mana onto a spell that someone's casting, that's a lot of extra mana to pay, and this is pretty useful, especially early game. Now we're looking back at Tempest, another 4-cost counterspell, 2 blue, 2 colorless, Dismiss. Again, counter target spell, and what's nice is you get to draw a card off it. That's nice because not only are you countering a spell and getting rid of a card from your hand, you're now replenishing your hand, and you're going to hopefully luck into drawing another counterspell. From Judgment, we have a weird counterspell called Spelljack. Costs 3 blue and 3 colorless, and of course, counter target spell. But if you counter it using Spelljack, that spell is removed from the game, and as long as it remains removed from the game or exiled, at any time you can play it as though it was actually in your hand without paying its mana cost. I don't know about you, that's a pretty expensive counterspell, but that ability is pretty cool too. So that might be something you want to consider. If you've got a lot of mana ramp, it might be good. Maybe it's a good mid or late game card. Very unique, sometimes hard to work in those cards that are really expensive like that. Okay, coming up from Future Sight, we have Dismal Failure. Again, another 4-cost counterspell. 2 blue, 2 colorless, counter target spell, and its controller discards a card. Really nice if you're playing one of those black and blue decks where you've got a lot of discard, counter, and mill stuff going on. This would be a nice little addition. Finally, we come to probably the king of counterspells, and that's Force of Will. Originally from Alliances, and it's been reprinted a couple of times in some other sets, but I don't want you to be thrown off by its converted mana cost of 5, 2 blue and 3 colorless to cast in order just to counter a spell. The big thing is its alternate way of casting, and that's where you pay 1 life and remove a blue card from your hand instead of paying its casting cost. And this card is, again, another great card to have opening hand or at any time throughout the game. This card is the king counterspells. This will set you back a few bucks easy. You're easily looking, it's a $100 card. But I gotta tell you, if you come across one, if you can trade for it, if you decide you want to buy one, this card is really one of the cards to have. It's legendary, and it's a pretty sweet card.
Thank you again for watching, and while you're at it, be sure to click to subscribe and check out my other videos and playlists that you may have missed out on. Again, I'm Dave Hunt, owner of GameMasters Guild, telling you to stay safe, play great games, and I'll see you real soon.